Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Well, we're gathered here today for I think what is going to be an interesting conversation. And I just want to preface it before I bring my guest on. I have known about this problem for a really long time. I have known about it since I first started interacting with FAIR in February. And I didn't say anything. Because to be frank, it wasn't my place to say anything. I just was trying not to involve myself in the situation. I genuinely want the organization to be successful. I genuinely still do want the organization to be successful, and I think that they can be. I just think that there are some truths that we need to talk about that, at this point, it has been attempted on several occasions to address the problems privately. It's not like when we're talking about issues related to FAIR that no one has tried to reach out privately to them. That is absolutely not true. It has been tried on several different occasions, and there really just hasn't been a lot of progress made. So to bring everyone up to speed, I wrote 4 articles on my Substack last week about some of the issues that I see with FAIR. Now, those articles didn't really touch on the issues we're gonna talk about today. I have linked them in the description below if you wanna go and check them out, but today we're gonna be talking about a whole new, side of this situation, and I wanna just be really clear about why I have chosen to involve myself in it. There is no group of people that I have greater respect and admiration for than the whistleblowers who have come forward and spoken the truth, told their stories to help all of us. And there is no group of people that I believe deserve our consideration more than these people who have put their careers, their lives on the line to do something that most people are not brave enough to do. And I have witnessed over the course of the last several months people like this being repeatedly used by the CEO of this organization. And it hasn't been talked about publicly because a lot of people are afraid. Well, my guest today is not afraid. She is one of the most badass women that I've ever met in my life. Her name is Gabrielle Clark. I've had her on the channel before. You guys know about her. Gabrielle Clark is a single mom from Nevada who had the temerity to fight back when her son was forced to say that he was an oppressor in his high school in order to graduate. Gabrielle forwarded the slides of his class to me. I was the first one to talk about the story. She kept fighting after that. Eventually, Gabrielle filed the first ever lawsuit around CRT in schools in the country. And FAIR reached out to her and offered to help. And today she's going to tell her story about what happened when that occurred. So, Gabrielle, welcome to the channel. I really appreciate you being here. I just want to mention, guys, that Gabrielle's case is still ongoing. It is one of the most important legal challenges that we have against critical race theory in the country. And if you want to support that, I have linked her Give, Send, Go in the description below, and I will put it in the chat as well. But I'm so happy you're here and that you're willing to talk about what's been going on, because I think that this is really important information that people need to know for this multi-million-dollar organization that is taking up all of the money in the anti-CRT space. I think people deserve to know what they're donating to. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Carlin.
Of course, of course. So I just want to, jump right into it. So what happened from the very beginning?
Well, after filing this lawsuit, we were having a hard time getting money, really. I don't have any money. And hello to everyone out there in the chat. But we didn't have any money, and we were doing everything we could at the time to collect donations and that sort of thing. And when it was really dire, we had a windfall. We got invited to Tucker Carlson.
I remember that.
And, you know, we got so lucky getting invited to Tucker Carlson. And right, I guess, I don't know, maybe an hour or so before I had to go on, or maybe a few hours, whatever, that day, I got an email from Brian Bartning, who I had seen in a Zoom meeting that we had a lot of us get together and you know, every other week and discuss what's going on. And we talked about, you know, what was happening and you know, going into the Tucker Carlson show and all of that. And he told me that they had started a GoFundMe. I had never even heard of FAIR before. Not really. I mean, I had, I guess, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything that I knew what they did. I didn't know what they did. And when I got that call, I really didn't know much about them. And so he told me, you know, the FAIR community is with you. You know, we set up a GoFundMe. We're going to help you raise money for your legal bills. And I was unbelievably grateful, because we were, you know, getting really nervous. I had just quit a training program, you know, because I was trying to, you know, get more education so I could get a better job. And I also had to turn down a job because everything was just so all encompassing. There was nothing that I could do. And we had to live, you know, we had to survive. And so when the Tucker interview came, I mean, that just came right at the right time for us to get our message out so that we could, you know, ask America, you know, to help us. And, you know, Brian Bartning coming in and offering FAIR's help, I was so grateful. I was so happy. You know, I was like, I just felt like, oh my God. I mean, and I was trying, you know, had a hard time trying not to cry on Tucker, because I was just like, you know, I hope this works out. I hope we're able to do this and get, you know, past this, you know, really serious money situation. And, you know, I think I talked to Vivek Ramaswamy on that day or the next day, something like that. He was great too. You know, he has contributed more to this fight than any one single person that I know of. You know, it's directly to me and William, you know, to help us to make it through. And I was just unbelievably grateful to him, you know, because he put some zeros on it. You know what I'm saying?
He's a good guy. He really is.
Very good. And he didn't, you know, he was just like, here you go. And I was like, oh, thank God. I mean, and we were able to, you know, kind of, you know, relax in that aspect. And, you know, I got a phone call from Bayan telling me that, you know, they wanted to do an article. They wanted to do an article, and Barry Weiss was going to write it. And he showed me the donation page and the FAIR website that had, you know, the little introduction or bio or whatever about us. And I was not pleased with what it said, because there were some inaccuracies that I thought were important to correct. And, you know, Barry called me, and I didn't know who she was. I had no idea who she was. I had never heard of Barry Weiss before. I'm a regular old person. Before this, I spent my days cleaning up after kids and cooking for kids. There was no I didn't even have a Twitter.
Yeah.
I had to get a Twitter just to even know what was going on. I had no idea who any of these people were or what anybody was doing. None. So when she called, I didn't know who she was. And she just started talking to me, and I was like, I don't even know who you are. What are, what are we, who are you? Kind of like that. And she, explained who she was. And she told me that she wrote the stuff on the website and for the GoFundMe page. And I told her, okay. I said, well, there are some inaccuracies. Here's what's wrong. Here's what needs to be fixed. Fix that and call me back. Mm-hmm. And I mean, she was like, okay. and we got off and I don't know, a little while later, or maybe the next day, I'm not for sure about the time frame, because seriously, we were about to go into this huge hearing. And I mean, everybody's nerves were just on edge, or maybe it was deposition, something like that. There was something big in the case coming up. And we were just unbelievably, I was just unbelievably nervous all the time and everything. I was scared about what was going to happen. And, when she called, when she called me back, we had a very lovely conversation, even before that, she sent me a kind of, what do you call it? An excerpt or a link. She sent me a link, texted me a link to a Substack that she wrote for somebody else that, boosted their fundraising, because that was the goal, was to boost the fundraising for this GoFundMe. And I was really grateful. I was just so excited and so grateful that, that these people were helping. They don't know me. I don't know them, and I was just so happy that, people recognize that, yeah, you're helping a family, but if you want to get down to it, you're helping all the kids in America, because, if this case goes all the way and if it wins, this is a precedent setting landmark case, and it will help everybody. And this, it will, it's probably one of the very few things that will actually produce an actual result. Some of these things don't.
They really don't. Yeah. And I just want to put a fine point on that for people who maybe haven't been following your case that might come across this. Gabrielle's case is a really strong argument against critical race theory in schools. You guys already have a statement from a judge, right, that your case is likely to succeed on the merits. Mm-hmm. And really, the major thing that will hold this case back from being successful is money. Because the reality is that it costs $500,000 to fight one of these cases to a precedent-setting judgment. It is a long, hard road, and so it's not just a matter of maybe like $100,000. That scratches the surface of what is required, and it's not like you're doing this for fun, right? You're fighting this case because I don't want to say like a slam dunk case, but it kind of is a slam dunk case.
Yeah. I mean, and at first I thought it was going to be like $500,000, but I think we've spent that already.
Oh, wow.
I think we've spent that or close to that already. And we've had lots of help from lots of different places. I didn't even know all the places that we got help. I didn't even know all the people and all of the organizations that threw in for this. They never contacted me. I never knew anything. They never asked anything of me. They didn't even talk to us. We just found out later, all of these different, people and organizations that were doing things behind the scenes, and I never even knew who they were, before that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was, they needed my participation to write the Substack.
Right.
And it was, my understanding that it was supposed to be an exclusive about me and my family. So, I want to be cooperative. I want to, help them help me, so I gave her, you know, uh, William's website. I mean, not his website, his YouTube channel with his music on it, which I had never done before, and I had to get his permission to do it because William has been adamant about staying out of the public eye,
Mm-hmm.
which is why you've never seen him. He's never done a single interview. He's only ever said that he would do one interview with one person. Um, you know, in this whole thing, and he's still kind of deciding whether or not when he wants to do that, but he's been adamant about staying out of it because he doesn't want to become famous or any of that stuff. He doesn't want to do any of that stuff. He just wants justice. He just wants to do what's right, and he just wants to make sure that this is not the way we conduct education in the future. That's he has no hidden agenda or anything like that, or even an overt agenda. None of that stuff. The only reason why I'm in the public eye is because we were getting dangerously low on money, and unfortunately, people needed to see me. They needed to see me. They needed to put a face to this case in order to connect to it better and understand the seriousness of it and understand the seriousness of what our family was going through.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to participate. I wanted to be cooperative, and I did that. And a few days passed, and Brian asked me to do a video, and I was like, what? I didn't understand that. He said, well, we want you to do a video about you know your your situation and everything. And I was on the fence about that because I up until maybe last week, I think I had done one recorded interview ever,
Mm-hmm.
and almost everything I do is live because I did, that one recorded interview I did very, very early on. They didn't even talk about, they cut out everything about our fundraising efforts and all of that stuff. So what was the point of going on? This is not a vanity project for me. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to go on TV and have everybody doing all that hero worship nonsense. Okay, I want to get justice for my son, and my son wants to get justice for himself, and he wants to make sure that the rest of the country can move forward without this racist ideology in
Mm-hmm.
schools and this misogynist in this scapegoating and all of that stuff. All men are misogynists and all that whole business, and
Yeah.
asking kids who they want to sleep with. Come on now. That's not no normal thing to ask a kid. That's the kind that shouldn't be in there. So that's what our goal was. So when I was asked to do this video, I was really hesitant, and I didn't understand why they were even asking that. And there was some back and forth with my lawyers, and Bayan sent me a text with a link to another a national review article or something like that, and I think it had a mention in there for us. And I sent him a text back and said, that's weird. I thought Barry's article would have come out before this one, because it had been some days.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't respond. And so I was like, what is going on? What's happening?
Yeah.
And I later found out that, there were some things that they wanted, despite the fact that I asked, what do you want? I asked plain and simple, what do you want?
Mhm.
And his response to me at that time was, we don't want anything. This is not a quid pro quo. Those were his exact words. This is not a quid pro quo. We just want to help. And I trusted that that was the case. And I found out later that, there was a problem with me, being a Trump supporter. And they wanted me to take down, at the time I had up, I was doing some, little stuff with Black Voices for Trump, and I'd given them, a little video at a Trump rally, and they had it up, and I posted it as my pinned post, and that was supposedly a problem, and that's hearsay. I can't, because I didn't. It was never told to me. Nothing was ever told to me. I mean, all of this stuff was, kind of hearsay, and all of this back and forth with people behind the scenes, and then and then there was an issue about me speaking out in the media. And he did tell me that we don't want you to worry about anything. We'll take care of everything. And I'm like, yeah, but me speaking out, I think is powerful, because there are people out there who, really want to hear from me, and I think that that's, and I was right, because since then I've, been thanked by I don't know how many thousands of people saying I would not have had the courage to step forward and fight this fight if I hadn't seen you on this thing or that thing. So I was not, I was hesitant about the whole staying out of the media stuff. And I was introduced to a different lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And the lawyer she wanted me to settle. And that was the first thing out of her.
Wait. You were introduced to them through FAIR or just through someone else?
No, that was somebody that they suggested.
Okay.
And they wanted me to settle, and I was just like, I don't want to go with a lawyer that I have to, where I have to settle. I'm not trying to talk to no lawyer about settling, and I didn't want to change my lawyer anyway. I wanted to keep my lawyer. I love John O'Brien. I wanted to keep him. And so, those things, I was finding out that behind the scenes, that's the stuff that was going on that wasn't being told to me, and Bion had my phone number. He could have talked to me, but instead he was talking to my legal team. I didn't understand that. I am ultimately the last stop. I am managing my own case. I can say what I want to say, or use whatever lawyer I want to use, that sort of thing. So, I thought that was odd,
So let me just, I just want to do a recap just to make sure I'm tracking, because there's already a lot of stuff. So
right.
You were at a pivotal point in your case where you needed money. Like, you needed money or the case was going to die. You were invited onto Tucker Carlson, which could have been an amazing opportunity to raise money for the case. FAIR reached out to you and said, we would like to help you with this case. You explicitly asked, what do I need to do? And they said, nothing. This is not a quid pro quo. Barry Weiss was supposed to write an article about you, specifically talking about you and your family in the case to help you raise money. And all of a sudden, the conditions start coming up where you're not allowed to be a Trump supporter. You're not allowed to speak out in the media. but they're not talking to you directly. It's all going on behind the scenes, and you're hearing about it like third person. Did I do a good summary?
Yes. I mean, yes, that's what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that hadn't been my experience up to that point. Up to that point, people just helped. They didn't. I didn't even know. I didn't even know anybody who helped. They just helped.
Mm-hmm.
There was no, well, we want you to do this. We want you to do that. There was none of that stuff. And that was when I started to that was my first kind of lessons in stuff like public interest firms, or getting help from people who do that sort of thing, because of course the ACLU wouldn't go hit my ass, you know what I mean? Like that was
Fair when they launched, they were supposed to be the new ACLU.
Well, that was kind of what I had looked at and figured out, that this was supposed to be, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I was really excited, but when that started happening, I started getting a little nervous, and I was like, well, why are we doing that? Like, why do I need to do that? And then there was some confusion about where the donations were supposed to go. Now, in hindsight, I was looking at this whole situation. Biden could have called me at any time and said, "What's your routing number?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to send you this, or email them your routing number or whatever, and we'll send it, to you."
Yeah.
That I don't know why that wasn't the course of action. You know what I mean? That just seemed, looking at the time, I just thought, well, maybe they just didn't trust me and they wanted to get it into, the hands of my legal team, and they didn't trust that I was going to do the right thing with the money. Okay. They don't know me. I wasn't weird about that. But the fact that that sort of stuff was never, ever, a conversation with me made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That they're making all of these decisions for me like I'm a child. You know what I'm saying? And not discussing any of them with me, really. Not, maybe mention it in passing, and just saying stuff like, well, we just don't want you to have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Well, this is my life. I want to be abreast of everything that's going on. If there's something that's happening, I need to know about it. That's non-negotiable. I'm a grown-up. I am an adult, and everything goes through me.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
So I want to go back to when you were on Tucker Carlson, because this is one of the few things that I actually do remember, like, witnessing this happen in real time. So you were supposed to, and please correct me if I'm wrong about what I'm saying, but this is just my recollection of what happened. You were going to go on Tucker Carlson. FAIR was supposed to launch like a crowdfunding thing for, like, specifically for your Tucker Carlson appearance. And I remember at the time there being like a lot of back and forth where Buy-in was like really focused on, it has to be branded perfectly. It has to be branded for FAIR. And you were like, just get the damn thing launched, Buy-in. I'm being on Tucker Carlson in like 2 hours. And it still wasn't launched. Like, I don't think by the time you were on the show. So you actually ended up launching a separate crowdfunding thing just to have something up.
Right. We were okay. And see, that's kind of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes that I had no idea about until afterwards. I didn't know that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was about to go on Tucker. Nobody wanted to tell me anything because, that's a little nerve-wracking, Going on Tucker is a little nerve wracking. I don't know if you've ever been,
I
but
have not, but I can imagine.
I really respect him and I watched him every single night for years. And, the fact that I'm getting ready to, go on and, not go on as some sort of comic relief was very, because I always envisioned myself going on Tucker and doing something fun. You know what I mean? Not this, that was what I had always envisioned, but I didn't know any of that was going on. I didn't find that out until later that that they ultimately launched another GoFundMe because that one wasn't moving along, at the pace that they wanted, and sometimes that happens, you can't, but I do remember it. I do remember thinking that it was weird that there was fair everywhere on all of everything that had to do with me. You know what I mean? I did think that that was odd. Um, you know, uh, we didn't. There were other people who helped us, and they didn't put their branding on every single. You know what I mean? Every single thing that we did. That wasn't ever anything that happened. So yeah, I thought that was odd. But I just kind of let it go, and then a few more days passed, and I was just really nerve wracked. My nerves were just really kind of on edge more than they already were, and I was having a problem sleeping. My hair was falling out. It just all of that stuff. I was having nightmares and everything because quite frankly, I was worried that that if I didn't do what they wanted to do, that he was going to take the money away and send all the money back to all of the donors. I was worried about that. Nobody said they were going to do that. That's just what I was worried about because because of the conversations that we had. Just He just made me fearful and nervous about what the future holds.
So
And
can we dig into that? And I know that this is a really sensitive topic because I mean, obviously this situation has caused you a tremendous amount of stress, but what can you help us understand what Bayern said to make you even think that he might take the money back?
I can't. I know this sounds crazy because I'm such an articulate person, but I just, I, I just, he just made me nervous. He just made me scared. He just made me nervous, and he made me scared that if I didn't do X, Y, and Z, because like I said, that article about Barry hadn't come out yet. And really, I was just like, well, what does that mean? She sent me a text saying that she was posting it and asked me for a picture. I gave it to her.
Do you want me to show that?
It's the one that's always, you can show it, but yeah, it's the
Yeah.
one that's always,
I'll take a
but
second to get it
she
up.
asked me for a picture, so I sent it to her, and I told her thank you, a bunch of times, and I really appreciate all the help because at the time I did.
Let's see. Okay, I can get the photo up here. And I want people to see like this is so Barry Weiss was supposed to write an article to help you fundraise for the case and sent you and so it's specifically supposed to be about you. And one of the things that kind of kept you involved in this whole scenario was you were like, this is going to help us raise a lot of money for this case and we need a lot of money. So here is here is the text that Gab sent me. You can see Barry at the top. Getting saying she's getting ready to publish on March 15th. Can I have a picture of you that I can use? And you sent a picture.
Yeah.
And did the article ever go up?
The next day, somebody sent me who knew about everything that was going on. She sent me this article and she said, Barry buried your story. And at that point, at that point, I just thought, if this is published and she publishes this story, I'll do whatever Fair wants. I'll do whatever they want, because, because I felt like, maybe he's just a little quirky. And maybe he was just a little quirky, and all of that, and to not judge, and what I mean, all of that stuff that you're taught to do. And I just thought, maybe he's just a little weird and he doesn't relate to people well or whatever. And if that story came out, then they were on the up and up, and they were serious, and they really did want to help. And they had the best intentions, even though, maybe made some wrong moves or some wrong choices or whatever, but they did have the best intentions, and everybody was making wrong moves and wrong choices, because ain't nobody ever did this before. You know what I mean? Nobody's ever done this before. So I really did think that if she published that article, and we got, and it went, it went out, even if it didn't make any money, I would still go with them, because I felt like, they were doing what they said they were going to do. And so when that didn't happen, I just sat on the bed and I just cried, because I just felt like, what else is going to go wrong in this situation? I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything I know to do to help my kid, And at that time, William hadn't graduated yet. We were still really worried that was a possibility, that he not graduate. So, I was at a loss.
Yeah.
And
Jenny, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Jenny's getting inky with it, says, sounds like it was his actions paired with his words and what he wasn't saying that made her feel that way.
And that's what's you're right. That's what was so hard to explain. And I can tell you, I'm not, there have been text messages, emails, and phone calls and DMs blowing up all over the place from all kinds of people who are asking me for clarification, but mostly telling me about their experience and not being able to put a fine point on it. So what do you do? And so when all of that happened, like I said, Bayan sent me that thing, and I said, I thought Barry's article would have come out.
Yeah. And actually, yeah. I have that too. Hang on. Let's show this text message. So here is a text message that you sent Bayan, because I guess an article had come out from another publication about your case. And you said, wow, I thought for sure Barry's article would have come out before Samantha's. And Bayan doesn't even respond. And basically was like changed the subject to your fundraising, which is fine, because I'm sure there's a lot to be grateful for with an organization raising you, over $100,000. And I want to acknowledge that. Like, that's a big deal. It's a lot of money.
Wonderful. That was wonderful. But you got to also understand that he's telling me that stuff about the fundraising because I hadn't gotten it yet.
Because you hadn't gotten the money yet that they had promised you.
I hadn't gotten it yet. And not only that, but he had never sent me any messages saying, okay, what's your routing number? We're going to send you this money. You know what I mean? And we were in trouble and we needed that money, So I was ready to do whatever he asked, but this whole thing was just making me so nervous. And I just, there was another thread of text messages of him asking me to do these videos and stuff like that. And then it was just most of them were just one word answers. okay, or yeah, or you know what I mean? It was,
Mhm.
I didn't want to make him mad because I was scared that we weren't going to get the money. Because at this point, he still could have shut off the GoFundMe and refunded everybody their money.
Mm.
And that's what I was very scared of. I
Mhm.
was terrified that, you know, you know, if he decided, well, she's moving too slow, I don't want to work with her, blah blah blah, that's fine. And if Barry said, okay, fine, I don't want to, I don't want to write for her, she doesn't want to go, that's fine. But the money that was already raised, it was raised in my name. And he used my name to raise that money, and he used my image to raise that money, and it was supposed to be for our legal fees. And
Mhm.
so, you know the very idea that he might shut it off and just return all the money was very, very, very much prevalent in my mind at the time.
Yeah.
So I was worried about it.
So I want to come back to that in a second, but so you mentioned earlier that one of the issues that they had was that you had been like an outspoken Trump supporter. You had done some stuff to campaign for Trump. There was a video going around about you doing that, and you didn't really think that they appreciated that. Well, Deb Philman from The Reason We Learn has popped in, and she said he asked me to take an Ayn Rand quote off my personal website just to volunteer with them. So this is a second instance of Bayan, who is the CEO of what is supposed to be a nonpartisan organization, sticking his nose into the politics of the people that he is trying to help in your case, or in Deb's case, like she was volunteering for them.
Yeah, I just, and like I said, he never told me
Mm-hmm.
that I had to do that. That was just something that was expressed to me third hand that he was having an issue with,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so I can't really, I can't, maybe
Fair enough.
he didn't. I don't, you know what I mean? But that was just what. So like I said, all of these things coming at me, third party, and him constantly sending me, I mean, every now and again I'd get a text message at 6 o'clock in the morning, just that kind of thing, just, and I understand time zones and all of that stuff. But, if I get a text message at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm a mother.
Mm-hmm.
My kids don't live here. My kids are grown up, but that doesn't stop me from being a mother. So whenever I get a text message at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm up
Mm-hmm.
like a light. I think one of my kids, especially since on October 1st, that one October 1st, we live in Vegas. That one October 1st, when that happened, my kids were
Oh,
out, and
wow.
they were out, and I couldn't get a hold of two of them. Because they're grown up, they were out, they were on the strip as a weekend, you know what I'm saying? So and one of them was actually in the vicinity, and he went down to help, right? So
Wow.
I was worried. When you send me a text message at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm up like a light, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that could have just been a coincidence. But this is kind of how and why this is so weird, and people are so weird when they talk about it, because all of these things can be chalked up to coincidence. But when they're all feeling that, I mean, you know what I mean? When so many people are having these kinds of issues, and so anyway, but so after a while, um, I love you too, Deb.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, after a couple of days, and I got that text message from him, and then right after it, there was another text message that said, we got this quote from Barry, and we
Mm-hmm.
put it on a meme,
Yeah.
and we wanted to know if we could use it. And
Yeah.
it was my picture and a quote that I only gave to Barry Weiss in a
So
in a meme.
So let me show this. So du-du-du. So this is the quote in the meme, and this is the quote that you gave Barry Weiss that she was supposed to use in the article that she was supposed to write about you
Right.
that never ended up getting published. And Buy-in's got it in a meme to do marketing for FAIR.
There. Yes. And I just was like, what have I gotten myself into?
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I just took control of the situation and I told my lawyers, I told everybody involved, I'm not working with him. I'm not working with FAIR. I don't care what the situation is anymore. And I stopped answering. You know, there may have been one or two text messages on another thread. And I, like I said, if I did answer, it was, just a one word something, you know, and I just said, no, this, but I didn't say anything to him because the money was still out there, and he could have shut the money off. But I felt very betrayed by Barry. Because,
Why?
well, because it was like, I trusted a reporter for the, I trusted a reporter that told me that, who everybody told me was really reputable and, and she's beloved and, you know what I mean? And all of these things. And I gave her an interview and my interview ends up in the hands of somebody else to promote an organization that I have nothing really to do that does, you know what I mean? That I'm not a part of. Mm-hmm. Like, why is that okay? And they didn't tell me that she was on the board of directors. I didn't even know that.
Well, no one knew that. No one knew that Barry Weiss was on the board of directors until like last week. So FAIR is very public about their board of advisors because their board of advisors are all these famous intellectuals that are intellectualizing about this stuff all the time. And they use them for PR for the organization. They use them to raise money for the organization. It's all fine, well, and good. Barry Weiss is obviously on their board of advisors. It's public on the website. But like this whole thing started because Deb and Justice and I did a video responding to FAIR's atrocious letter to the DOJ in response to them basically trying to label parents as domestic terrorists. And basically in that video, we kind of were like, who is on FAIR's board of directors? Who approved this letter? And then we started looking for who was on FAIR's board of directors, couldn't find it anywhere. And it turns out we ended up getting initial filings from the organization. Barry Weiss is on their board of directors.
I'm looking at the chat and I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, but I didn't know anything. Yeah. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything.
And you shouldn't have had to. This was an organization whose mission should be, like, as I understood it, to help people like you. In this circumstance, you shouldn't have to do background on all of these people. It's just not the way it should work. Jenny's getting inky with it, says, but if Barry never published the article, how was it a quote? And why are they using her for their marketing? I thought it wasn't to be a quid pro quo. I think that that's a really good question. If we're talking about an organization that has now raised over $100,000 for you, that is kind of like holding the $100,000 plus out like a carrot, and all of a sudden Barry, who was supposed to write an article about your case to help you, like doesn't use any of the stuff you gave her, then a quote ends up in Buy-in's hands that he wants to use as marketing purposes when he's still got the $100,000 hanging over you.
And she did use a quote. It just wasn't that one. You know what I mean? And then I was like, and I didn't understand how in the world did my quote that I gave her and I only told her end up on this meme.
Yeah.
Aren't journalists supposed to kind of be protective about the interviews that they do and only do with the interview what they, you know what I mean, what the purpose of the interview was? Isn't there some sort of journalistic integrity that says, don't give your interviews the person you're interviewing their quotes to somebody else to do, you know what I mean?
Well, I'll say this. I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I'm not a journalist, but also I'll say this. In the course of the last like week, I have talked to over a dozen people who have had similar and sometimes more disturbing accounts of what's gone on in this organization. I haven't released any of it. And I specifically and like, you didn't even like, ask. Like, I made very sure that you wanted to talk about this publicly before we did that. You wanted to talk about it last week. I was like, hold up.
You know, we waited a long time to discuss this because the implications could be severe. But you know what is wrong with fucking over somebody who has nothing to lose?
Mm-hmm.
There ain't nothing you can do to that person. What's it gonna do? Sue me? Sue me. You know what I own? I own a raggedy ass PT Cruiser with the check engine lights on. There's a nail in one of the tires. The front bumper is falling off. He can have it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he can have my dirty drawers and try to sell them on eBay because that is as good as it's gonna get if you want to sue me for something.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
So,
and this isn't for fun. It's like I just want to remind people. This is she has a precedent-setting legal case against CRT in schools. This is something that, to be quite frank, the entire anti-CRT community should be rallying around to raise money for you, to help you. No quid pro quo, no I'll scratch my back, you scratch yours. This is something that they should all just do because it is the right thing to do for everyone. And this is part of why I'm so burned on this whole thing. It's like you are one of the very last people who should be treated this way.
And I understand. I'm an American. You do something for me, I do something for you. I understand that. But I was ready to do that. Have that article come out, I'd have done whatever they said. I would have done, maybe not whatever they said, but I would have done something. You know what I mean? If that article had come out, because to me, that was just kind of showing me that whatever I was kind of thinking and feeling and all of that stuff, it was in my head, and they really were there to help me. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
so did you ever get the money? What happened with that?
Okay, so I did finally, after a bunch of back and forth emails, and GoFundMe was being a dick like they do, and it was taking a really long time. We were going back and forth with emails because GoFundMe doesn't talk on the phone, they only do emails. And then like my bank doesn't do emails, so it was like I could, and it would, and I opened an account specific for the case so that I could keep track of every single nickel that was coming in without having to worry about my own personal finances, how it was coming in and how it was going out. Right. So, because it was a new account, then it looked weird. You know what I mean? So it was just back and forth with that. But I did ultimately get the money, for which I was so grateful. I was so grateful that I didn't even say anything about the fact that they had put those memes up on their website. Mm-hmm. And they were still, using our case to promote FAIR. I didn't even say nothing. I just said, you know what, as long as the donations keep coming in, let them do it, even though they didn't get permission, they didn't have legal permission to do it. They didn't, they didn't have, I never signed anything saying that they could use my image or anything like that. They never had permission, but I didn't make a big deal out of it at that time because I got the money and I promptly paid my lawyer. Mm-hmm. I sent almost all of it to my lawyer. And I kept a little just so I could have a war chest for any eventuality. Mm-hmm. And so I still owe John quite a lot of money, but that's what I did first thing. Because, I don't want my kid to grow up and this be over and then he owes a bunch of, money and legal fees. And you know what I mean? He starts off with, hundreds of $1,000s of debt, So I did that right away. And then I don't know how long it had been after the money got into my possession, but I got a message from somebody saying that they were no longer that um they couldn't make a donation because the donations had closed.
Okay. So Bayan had set up this GoFundMe, and he had set like, so again, correct me if I'm wrong. He had set like a goal of like, $200,000, but you had gotten some of the money early because it was like an ongoing campaign,
Right.
and then someone was trying to make a donation to support your case, and the GoFundMe had been shut off.
Yes, the goal had been lowered to something like $126,000 or something
Which
like
just happened to be is the amount that you had already raised.
that. Right. I think
Coincidentally.
yeah, I think at that point we had raised 127,000, but the goal had been lowered to 126,000, so it looks like it was completed. It
Mm-hmm.
said the GoFundMe was complete and they were no longer accepting donations.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only person who can do that is Bayan.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, wow. you know,
Why would he do that?
why would you do that? If your goal is to help and you have no other, no, you have uh no other agenda than just to help. And you're still, he was still at that time, they were still, the memes and stuff, all of that, and they still had my name and my image and everything on their website and all of that stuff. I had not made those videos like he asked, because I'm sorry, I just did. I felt weird about that. But he did have, quotes, whatever Barry Weiss had, she could have used those things, and I wasn't going to say anything about it, because as long as the donation page was still open, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'll deal with it. But when that donation page closed, I just remember just sobbing. I mean, and I, called a few people, and I just sobbed, because I couldn't believe that, somebody would be so vindictive, and let me also just say, if I just wanted money, I could have settled a long time ago, and I'd have had money, and I'd have been done with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But my son wanted justice, and so I'm going to see to it that he gets it.
Yeah.
So it's not about money. And it's not about money for him either, because this boy is sleeping on a mattress on the floor in his apartment. He does not have a car. He takes the bus everywhere. We're not taking this money and living the high life. I had to turn down that job, and I wasn't even going to turn down the job. I was going to take it and try to, juggle this in my life and everything. And my boyfriend says, I will take care of you. I will take care of you. I will take care of Danica. Y'all come be with me. I'll take care of you. And this is more important. So all of these people all over the country are doing everything they can to help. But because I wouldn't make some videos, or because I wouldn't do what, they wanted me to do, now poo-poo on you, Gabs, like, I mean,
Yeah.
it just was crazy. And you know what? They have the right to do that. They do. They have the right to do that. But I just thought that was really vindictive and ugly. You
Yeah.
know, and you know, I've heard, you know, people say, well, he said you were ungrateful and all of that stuff. All right, if that's what you think, or that I didn't cooperate with them, you know, Carlin, you raised quite a lot of money for me, and you did not have my cooperation for any of it.
You didn't even know I was doing it.
I did not even know. I woke up one morning and there was just, you know, yippee, yippee, or whatever it is that, you know, in my emails when it sends me an email telling me that somebody donated.
Yeah.
I just saw all of these yippies, you know, all of them. I'm like, what in the world is going on? So I got, you know, I got on. I did not know anything. You did not need my cooperation. Same thing with Deb. Deb has been raising money for me for the last few weeks, and she reached out to, you know, the Hogg family and all of that stuff. And I did not know any of that stuff until she already did it. She said she had been thinking about it, but I didn't know that she did it until she already did it.
Yeah. And this is a really key point because no one here is accusing Fair of legal wrongdoing. We are not making that accusation. However, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And there is like if Fair's mission is to be the new ACLU, then your case should be exactly the thing that they should want to support because it's the right thing to do. I didn't need to make marketing memes with Gab's image on it in order to raise her money. In fact, like the idea of it didn't even cross my mind because that wasn't the goal. The goal was to get her the money she needed so that she could fight the case that needs to be fought. So if I is just like a regular person with a YouTube channel and like a Twitter platform, like if I can do that and Deb can do that, why can't this organization whose sole mission for being is to support things like this, why can't they do it?
Vivek Ramaswamy did it. A lot of other, you know, there are other people, and they've asked me not to mention them, so I won't. But you know, there are other people who really came through for us.
Yeah.
And I didn't, and there, those people, some of those people, I didn't even know that they even came through for us in the way that they did until months later. I mean, you know, there have been anonymous small donations, but there have been some big ones too. You know what I mean? You know, I also, you know, there was a short period where we were with another public interest firm. We had a difference of opinion on which way to go legally. So, you know, we decided that, you know, working together wasn't going to be beneficial for the case. But they didn't post me up on their, and this is a big firm too. They didn't post me up on their thing. You know, they didn't ever, you know, ask me to do X, Y, and Z. They told me what they expected. I told them what I expected. We signed an agreement. The legal issue, there were legal issues that came up, and we had a difference of opinion on the direction those legal issues should take. So, you know, they stepped away, and I respected that because because if you tell me what you want up front, I can respect that. Yeah. But all of that stuff, and you know, I used to have a recurring nightmare when all of this was going on in this week and a half, you know, long saga with Bayam Barney. I used to have this like recurring nightmare that I was a lioness and I was wounded and my cubs were off in the distance, and there were all these, you know, hyenas around me trying to get me. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I would wake up and I would just be soaked in sweat, you know, and, you know, that was hard. That was hard. And I was introduced to Helen Pluckrose, who got me involved with Counterweight. She listened to everything I had to say, and she got me a listener, and I was able to have some emotional support for all of it for everything through that time.
And
And
Helen at this point, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Helen at this point is on FAIR's board of advisors.
at that point, she was, yes.
And you have Helen's permission to talk about this, just for the audience.
Yes, I asked her for permission. You
Mhm.
know, she did, you know, provide me a listener, and who was great, and uh, and was very supportive. And like I said, at the time, she was on the board,
Mhm.
and she told me, you know, after a while, when the GoFundMe shut down, when he shut down the GoFundMe, I I reached out to her again, and she said, "Okay,
Mhm.
I'm gonna do something about it." And I don't know what she did. I
Mhm.
don't know what she said. I don't know who she talked to or any of that. But you know, a little while later, I got an email from her saying that that she that she expressed her concern about the lack of oversight in what she called bullying, and she didn't get a response. And so she said she, the unethical behavior was not something that she could support, and she left FAIR.
All right. I want to put a fine point on this for everyone. So you connected with Helen Pluckrose, who was then on FAIR's board of advisors. She got you help. She got you someone to talk to, sort through all of the emotions that you were having around the stress that this entire affair was causing you. Helen then reaches out to FAIR and says something, we don't know what, but is basically asking, like, what the hell happened, and like who's responsible. And no one from FAIR was able to give her an adequate response. And so, as a result of that, Helen ultimately left FAIR's board of advisors.
Yes, there's, yes,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was really upset about that, because I was really hoping that this was all in my imagination. I was hoping that there was going to be some, kind of reconciliation, and them say, well, we didn't mean it like that. This is not, we had this issue, or we had that issue, or, you know what I mean? Something.
Yeah.
And Helen, I was hoping that she was going to come to me and tell me, oh, well, this is what happened. And when she told me that, that was hard. That was hard. It was hard. It was hard
Yeah.
to be going through this, because in my mind, when I talked to William about doing this, our concerns were, of course, the backlash and the money, you know. But I told him, America will be there for you, William. They will. And I believe that. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we decided to do this, I had no idea that there was a kind of competition, or a kind of I don't know, kind of a kind of business that people were running.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I had no idea about that.
And I
I,
don't think a lot of people know that. I don't, and this is not just true of FAIR. This is a lot of these organizations. And there are some extremely reputable organizations that are doing good work. Like No Left Turn in Education is an organization you're involved with. They do good work, but I don't think people understand, and I understand why, because until you see what's going on behind the scenes, it'd be easy not to. Like a lot of these organizations don't really, they're not focused on the mission. They're focused on basically creating life rafts for the people running the organization.
Mhm. I mean, it's a business,
It's a
it's a
business.
business for them. I don't know if it's a business for FAIR. I don't know about any of their, financial dealings or anything like that. It just, this, I, I didn't know that, that I was gonna, have to make a decision about whether or not I wanted to be a part of an organization that I was gonna have to, sing for my supper. I didn't know, that was gonna be part of it. I just thought, me, being, the eternal optimist, especially about, people. I believe that, people are inherently good, but, some of them can be terrible. But, all by and large, people want to do the right thing. And even if they're bad people, most people still want to do the right thing. You could be a terrible person and still, have this, urge to do the right thing. There's all kinds of, philanthropists out there who are terrible people, but they still, donate their money, to the causes they feel like are worthy. So, I just thought, that when we got involved in this, people would see how wrong this is and how it shouldn't be, tolerated, and that they would help in any way that they could. And I didn't think that, this was going to be an issue.
No, and I still do believe that people will ultimately come through. And guys, if you want to make a donation to support Gabrielle's case, I do have the link pinned at the top of the chat. It's also in the description. But it does, it begs the question, because there are a lot of organizations right now, and I'm gonna point to one of them. The Daily Wire writes about critical race theory all the effing time. They make a lot of money by writing about what is going on with critical race theory in schools. And they could have, if they were actually interested in solving the problem, they could have supported a case like this, but they don't. And I think that I really I want people to be aware that just because someone talks about a subject doesn't mean that they are actually supporting what needs to be done to solve the problem. And I think there's just a lot of confusion going on between, organizations that talk a lot about this stuff, but then don't actually show up when they're needed.
And it's everybody's prerogative to support whomever they feel
It is.
is, if that's their deal, that's fine. But I certainly didn't expect to have to, navigate these waters with people who who I thought were there to help me, and they did. They raised a lot of money. They did. And you know what? I'm very grateful for the money that they did raise, because he could have been really vindictive and just shut it off and sent that money back to everybody, you know.
Mhm.
But I just I can't just not I can't continue to say nothing when I know all of the other people and all of the other instances of something like this, and they're coming to me and they're telling me all of this stuff and asking me for my advice because they know what happened to me. And I'm hearing this stuff, right? And I'm seeing it in texts and in emails. And I'm saying, okay, don't get involved in that. Don't say anything. It's none of your business. You don't have anything, you don't have, it's none of your business. And then at the same time, I'm out there giving speeches and you know, talking to individuals and people calling me, and I'm telling them, don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's your job, it's your duty to speak out and protect your children, and it's your job to, you know, as an American, to exercise your rights, that the rights that you have, and then not say anything and cower about this. That makes me a hypocrite. And I just cannot watch it anymore. I cannot do it anymore. My conscience will not let me sleep at night if I have gone through all of this and I still have all of these people contacting me, telling me all of these little things, you know, and then I look, you know, on TV, or somebody sends me a link. And then there's Barry Weiss with another quote from the interview that she, you know, talking to Ben Shapiro about me, about how brave I am and about how much courage I have. But I don't have the courage to speak out about this.
Well,
and she's using another, you know, she's using another quote, an instance of a quote talking about, you know, how courageous I am, and you know, the whole thing about how when she asked me, you know, why am I doing this or something like that, and I did say, I was like, I don't understand that question. That's a stupid question. You know, why am I doing? Because it's the right thing to do. And she's telling all of this to Ben Shapiro. Now, after that stuff happened with that GoFundMe, and they shut that down before reaching the goal, even if they had waited until it reached the goal and just shut it down, and, you know, we said we're gonna give you this money, we ain't giving you a nickel more than that. You know what I mean? Even if that was, I still would have been like, fine, whatever, you know, use that. I mean, it's all going to the same place. It's all going to the right place, right? You know. Even if that had happened, I would have, you know, just let it go. But because of that, I said, you know what? Don't ever say my name again. Okay. Don't use my picture. Don't say just don't. I can't have nothing to do with y'all. Okay. And hearing that the other day just was like spitting in my face. And after all, especially after all of these people who have told me, you know, their stories, their horror stories about what they experienced, you know, in this unethical behavior at FAIR, I just couldn't. I just can't. I can't watch it happen. I can't just, you know what I know and know this is wrong and not speak up. But there's all kinds of things that can be done to fix this situation, and people have tried. So what are we supposed to do? If you have gone through every avenue, if you have done everything you can, and they still, you know, won't change any of their practices or do anything different, or even try to explain the position that they, for whatever reason they had to do this, I just no, I can't stay silent anymore about it. Yeah. It's wrong.
And I want to just emphasize what you're saying as well, because again, like, I believe that FAIR is an eminently fixable organization. I want them to be successful. I really do. They have a massive war chest. They could do an awful lot of good in the world. I want them to be successful. But when I studied workplace bullying for 10 years, I know what adult bullying looks like. And just like you, in the last week and a half, I have heard story after story after story after story of very similar things happening just like this. And I did reach out to Barry Weiss and Melissa Chen privately. They could have asked whatever questions they wanted. They had opportunities, and it was completely and totally ignored. And I know that I am not the only person to reach out to the two of them. And the fact of the matter is that there are 3 people on FAIR's board of directors. Brian Bartning, Melissa Chen, and Barry Weiss. That is according to their initial corporate filings. If you want to see the filings, it is in the first link in the list of articles that I posted in the description. It would take 2 votes to remove Brian as CEO and to get someone else in there. And so if Barry and Melissa wanted to solve this problem, they have all the power that they need in order to fix it. And it seems to me, based on the private communications that I reached out to them, but also everything that I've heard from other people, that they are just simply not interested in solving the problem.
That is so sad.
It's incredibly sad.
That is so sad. And it makes me feel so defeated. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, this is supposed to be who we're all supposed to be looking to save us. And I gotta say, that's probably our own fault, because we're always looking for an organization or a government or somebody, you know what I mean? We're a system or something to save us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we got here to begin with. And you know what I hear more than anything? Why don't you go with a public interest firm? You don't have to pay them. You know how many public interest firms worked on my case? If you go with a public interest firm, you have to do what they want you to do.
Yeah.
And that may not be, you have to do whatever it is that they want you to do.
Which might be unsettling, right?
Yeah. And so, if your intention is to, go all the way, in a case, and that public interest firm doesn't want to do that, then you don't have a lawyer anymore. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, public interest firms are great, and I would say that if you get sued by somebody and it's unjust and you're the defendant in a situation like that, a public interest firm might be a better choice, because, first of all, they can't, I don't even know if they can quit. You know what I mean? When you're the defendant, the lawyer of a defendant, you may not be able to quit like that. You know what I mean? There's different rules, but still, the ultimate goal is to keep your client out of jail through whatever means whatever legal means you need to do that. So, I mean, most defendants are able to have the same interests as their lawyers, you know what I mean? And are able to listen to their lawyers like that. When you're on the plaintiff side, it's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And for everybody in the chat I have contacted everyone, and I do mean everyone. Okay. Lots of people turned us down in the beginning. A lot of people who you thought were going to fight for you. No, they're not.
Nope.
This is the point I'm trying to make. I have reached out to quite a lot of the people in this, recommended in this chat. Okay. And either they didn't respond or they flat out told us no.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning. And that goes for, and I'm going to tell you, that goes for liberals and conservatives. I don't know how many times I heard from a conservative lawyer, just move into another school. Yeah. Or just come to an agreement about some assignments that you will do and some assignments that you won't do, and let him graduate, because they feel like that's in his best interest. They didn't, and they asked William, what do you want to do? And William said, I want justice for myself, and I don't want this to happen anymore. And he said that, and they said, we know what's better for you. You should just settle, or you should just, put your head down, or you should just find another school. I mean, that was the kind of thing that we were getting. I cannot express to everybody watching enough that you have to stop with the mindset that there is somebody coming to save you. Nobody is coming. You have to do it yourself. And if you're too afraid to actually publicly and go out and do something, then for heaven's sakes, please support those of us who are sticking our necks out, right? Because even if that means, you have to do some peanut butter and jelly sometimes, because if you don't, ultimately, you're not going to get to have no choices later for anything, because that's where we're at and that's where we're going. Now, all of these people are always telling me, you're our hero and all of that stuff. Hey, look, this ain't something that I am supposed to be doing. This is something that we are supposed to be doing. We send people to fight and die for our country to stay free, but then we won't sacrifice the little things, some small things. We won't sacrifice some big things. I'll sacrifice it all. I'll sacrifice it all so I can be free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you don't deserve freedom. That's it.
Gabs, is there anything else that you want to make sure we hit on? I have my little checklist over here. I just want to make sure we've hit on all the points. So we talked about your story, accountability, bullying, money, competition. Did we miss anything?
No, I think that's it. I do hope that, I do hope that there's a reconciliation and a I don't know, reflection. And I'm not suggesting that anybody, that we not have a fair, or I'm not suggesting anything. All I'm saying is, why can't they say, okay, some of these things, let's just fix them. Yeah. Let's just fix them. Mm-hmm. Okay, Bayon's not good with people. All right, let's, let him do the marketing thing. He's good with that. He's a genius with that stuff. Let him do the marketing thing, and let somebody else, talk to people and work with individuals or whatever. I mean, why can't that be the attitude? Why does it have to be this, ignoring people who are reaching out and all of that stuff and asking for accountability? Nobody is saying that, FAIR is not doing good work. They're doing some $125,000 ain't nothing to sneeze at, honey.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And I probably wouldn't have been able to raise that on my own. Maybe, but maybe not. That's nothing to sneeze at. And if you got that kind of pull, then there's, nobody is perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. So why not, fix it and make it better? And maybe talk to some of the people who feel like they've, been wrong, and get some of their feedback and make it better and move forward. And then we can all, work together. That's what the left does. That's what that's what them fools do. Yeah. They get together and put aside their egos and differences and stuff and work together and financially support one another's groups and all of that stuff so that they can reach their goal. Why can't we do that?
Yeah. I totally agree. And, I want to emphasize this. And I wrote this in the very first article I wrote about this topic when I started looking into it. But I want FAIR to be successful. You want FAIR to be successful. Mm-hmm. They could do a lot of good, but if they are treating whistleblowers badly, and you were listen, I'm going to say it. You're having nightmares about this situation. You were traumatized by this situation, and it was completely unnecessary. And you're not the only person that this has happened to. And I don't know, from my point of view, and I am not someone that has ever been involved with FAIR because I didn't want to be after the first meeting that I had with Bayern in any way. I will not stand idly by when people like you, who have already been so brave and stood up for so many people, are literally traumatized by people who come to you and say, "I want to help you." This to me is just really unacceptable. And if the organization was taking the feedback and making changes and at least saying, "You know what, Gabs, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that happened to you. That was not our intent." Like, it is not hard to say that, but they aren't doing that. And if FAIR is to be successful, I really think they need to make some really substantive changes. I agree with you. Let Buying go run the marketing. But he should not be interacting with whistleblowers. He should not be like your guys' contact. He should not be that because it is not working. For some reason, it is not working.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's not good at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's not good at everything. So,
Right.
if I and like I said, there's no part of this there's no part of what I'm saying, or the fact that I'm even here saying this that comes from any kind of malice or
Right.
any kind of vindictiveness or anything like that. I didn't get up one day and just say, I'm just gonna go dump on Barry Weiss today. No, I don't.
No.
That kind of thing, that kind of thing doesn't even cross my mind. Most of the time I'm thinking about what to make my man for dinner. That's usually, I want to make him something new and exciting.
Because you're like a normal person in real life. You're a normal person.
I'm just like a regular, normal person. And I am very grounded. My family makes sure that I stay grounded. I said, Danica, tell me I'm awesome. Tell me I'm awesome. She's like, I'm not going to tell you you're awesome until you're on Shannon Bream. Why? Why? I'm your mother. You're supposed to tell me I'm awesome. Nope, Shannon Bream. So, Shannon Bream, whoever knows Shannon Bream, can I be awesome or what?
I was on Shannon Bream at one point after the Coke thing, so maybe.
Hey, listen, if you know Shannon Breams, just so I can, hey, I want to be awesome to my daughter. So, that's where my head is at, and like I said, I'm stay grounded, very grounded. I'm on the phone talking to somebody. And I say, babe, I'm on the phone with the senator. Can you please turn the radio down? He said, yeah, sure. Baby, can you make me some coleslaw when you get off the phone? Yeah, I will do that. And then continue my discussion with the senator. I mean, I'm a regular everyday person. I do not wake up and say, I want to go and, blast somebody today. You know what I mean? That's not how I work. That's not how I operate. I want everything to be better. I want everybody to get along better. I want us to be able to utilize all of the tools that we can to fight for our country, because our country represents what the world sees, and how the world conducts themselves is based on what we do. So we can help the country. We can help the world. Why can't we all think like that?
Yeah. Well, Gabs, I want to thank you for being brave and telling your story. I think that it is an important story that needs to be told. I think it's coming from a place where you want there to be improvement. You're not trying to you're not trying to destroy the organization. You want there to be improvement. I think that that's my motive too. And, we want it to be successful, but people need to be aware of this. And the most important people that need to be aware of this, quite frankly, are the other people that this has happened to. Because both you and I have been talking to a lot of people lately that very similar things have happened to, that have also been gaslit in this situation to think that they're the only ones, it's just about them, and it's not. And my motivation is that workplace bullying, this is very similar to it, is something I spent 10 years of my life fighting, and I will not stop and sit idly by when I see it happening to a group of people like this that are trying to stand up and do the right thing. I won't do it. And so I think that people need to know that it's not your fault. It's really not. And there are people communicating behind the scenes. And if you want to talk to people, if you want social support, even if you don't do it publicly, like, there is support that is there. And please reach out, because you're not crazy. This is real. And it's something that needs to be taken a lot more seriously than it is, because these are real people's lives. And these are people that are average, everyday people that aren't making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on this, that sometimes don't even have the money to pay their rent the next month, but are standing up and doing the right thing. And these are the people that should be protected above all, so far as I'm concerned. All right. Anything else, guys, before we conclude? Want to plug your donation?
Yes, you can donate to our case, and at let me see what is GiveSendGo/support the Clarks. Did I get that right?
You did. And guys, I've got it linked, so you don't need to worry about it. I've got it linked in the description.
Yes. I mean, and there's all kinds of organizations. You don't have to donate to me. I'm caustic. I would sometimes rub people the wrong way. You may not like what I say or what I do or whatever, but there are other grassroots organizations that are broke, that need the money. They need the resources. I cannot even begin to tell you how crazy it is that, I don't even have business cards for No Left Turn, because we just can't afford it right now. I mean, they're talking about all this dark money. We ain't got no money, dark or otherwise, right? So, there's Parents Defending Education. There's all kinds of organizations. I think Sloan Rockmuth, she has she has a thing. They have something in California. I can't even remember the name of it right now. There's organizations all over the country that are grassroots organizations. And if you feel like you can't do right, and you can't get out there and you can't help, then kick them down $100 a month if you can. You know what I mean? Because that little $100 a month might pay for some pamphlets so that we can pass them out to to people on the street. You know what I'm saying? That's what we spend our money on, stuff like that. So that we can reach all the people who don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I know people that are doing work with No Left Turn around here, and they were funding yard signs out of their own pockets.
Yes. I mean, some of us, Beanie Gohagen in Kentucky, she makes her signs. She gets out there old school, honey, and she makes her signs with some markers and some poster board. Like, that's where we're at. So, noleftturn.us, you can see that, and they provide a good service. You look on their website, you can learn everything you need to know about how to start, fighting back. And, there's the donate button on there. You can see all of the filings and all of my media appearances, not all of them, but most of them. There you can see other cases that, that they brought, because, No Left Turn, did bring our case. They are the ones who I reached out to with the help of Carlin's videos. With the help of her video, I was able to shop our case around and try to find, support. And that's where I got support from, No Left Turn in Education. And, they do some really, really great work. Sometimes I'm just shocked at all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And it's really amazing. We're going to Atlanta on what is it, on Friday for a conference. We have a conference going on there in Atlanta, Georgia. And God, I can't even remember what the link is, but I'll put a link on my Twitter. I'll put a link on my Twitter today. And anybody who lives in Atlanta or the vicinity, you can go to our conference. I'll be speaking. Beanie Gohagan will be speaking. Dr. Alana Fishbein and all of our members in Georgia will be there for this one day. I think Dr. Carol Swain is also one of the speakers. She's been very vocal in this fight. So, it's worth the $40 or $50 or whatever it is to go there and speak with all of these people and listen to them speak and listen to some of their presentations.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for joining me today and telling your story. Again, like you're one of the bravest fighters I know, and I'm thrilled to know you and to call you a friend. And I'm really sorry we're talking on these circumstances, but hopefully the next time we talk, it'll be under better circumstances.
I hope so too. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, guys. Well, that's all we have for today. I do have a stream tomorrow with Justice at 5 p.m. Oh, I have a stream later. I have a stream at 9:30 tonight with Joshua, the regular Tuesday night stream. A stream tomorrow with Justice at 5 o'clock. We're going to talk about social emotional learning in schools. Should be amazing. And I think I'm going to have a FAIR chapter leader on my channel on Thursday to talk about what it's like from the FAIR chapter leader perspective. And so I don't have final confirmation on that yet, but I have pretty good confirmation. So pay attention and I'll make sure you guys are updated when I know more. But guys, take care. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please mount that like button on the way out the door if you want to applaud Gab's courage. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you a little bit later at 9:30, guys. Take care.